Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today on a Saturday. And Rex, thanks so much for your time on joining me on a Saturday. Um, my name is Ashley Warren, for those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting. My actual background's in network marketing, popped into the energy space, sold a bunch of solar, loved it because it was a high ticket item, and I knew I could sell something high ticket. I love selling things. And the other thing I loved was that there was a residual income component when it came to building a team. So there was one thing that was missing for me, and that was this lifetime customer. What I noticed in solar only was that the solar sale ended at the sale. And what I love of what we'll talk about today is having products, having technology that comes first, that really serves the client, whether residential or commercial. It serves them first by taking an energy audit, really serving them, and maybe solar comes in on the third step or the fourth step and really serving them. So, in my time and when I was introduced to these optimizers, I was so ecstatic that I just ordered one myself because I know many of you who will be watching, hey, I want to know if it works for my own home first before I'm willing to go out and tell everyone about it. Because I know if it works, I can talk to everyone. So I put it on my own home, and we'll talk about this in just a sec. Like, while we can't say it goes up to 47%, my home actually, my bill was cut by 47%. The electrician that showed up, I showed him a YouTube video. He didn't know how to, he hadn't ever installed one of these before. The whole time he has the amp clamp on, he's going, wow, wow, wow. So, in the process of building sales teams, building up reps who are ecstatic about this product and others, I have had a lot of questions because, come to find it, there was other technologies that did it wrong and didn't have the same capabilities that this technology does. So instead of me attempting to answer them, I wanted to bring Rex on, who's the absolute expert when it comes to smart energy solutions. I went to all of my sales reps and or anyone who was just a naysayer. And I asked them, give me like 2 to 3 questions that if you could talk to the expert today or the technician and ask them questions about these optimizers, give them to me. So we have a long list of questions. Rex, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little about your history, everything you've done, and if we could even just throw in a few big brand names, because I think once we start to hear these massive brands that you guys have worked with across the country and even across the world, it starts to feel way more like, okay, if it's working for McDonald's, it's probably will work for my home. So go ahead, Rex, take it away, and then we'll jump into questions.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ashley, for having me on today and give me the opportunity to answer a lot of questions. And you are correct. The people have different understandings about the technology. So I'll get to this in a minute. A little bit about me. I'm a technology guy. And when it comes to renewables, this is just technology. It's hardware and software. When I got into solar, I was like, well, this is hardware and software. You just put some of the hardware on the roof. So my background is in technology. When I got into the energy business, I jumped in 100%. I have a podcast. It's called Energy Catalyst Podcast. I look like a NASCAR driver with all these logos. So I do a podcast out there, and it's across the board, all topics energy. I'm the co-founder and one of the leadership members. We don't really big on titles. I guess you could call me CEO, but I guess you could call me the janitor too, at Smart Energy Solutions. And at Smart, what we do is bring new technologies specifically to the energy space. And then I'm the founder of the Go Green Community Initiative, which is a nonprofit. I am part of the consulting and organization team at the Energy Suite. And then I'll shift a little bit here, and you can see some of them. I'm an author. My kids are grown, so I don't have a whole lot to do with my spare time. And later here in January, I'll be publishing my 10th book,
Wow.
specifically in energy. So I've done a couple others outside of that. So yeah, I'm all in on it. And so I'm so excited to be able to take this opportunity to answer questions because sometimes we'll make posts out there in social media and there'll be people who don't have all the correct information and they'll attack it And then we'll offer to answer and rebuke, and then they never do. They just want to attack it because they've seen something from yesteryear. So I'm going to use an analogy today that helps everybody understand this. Okay. The first mass-produced vehicle was the Model T, the Ford Model T. You could have it in any color you wanted as long as it was black. But the thing about the Model T is it had four wheels. It could take a passengers and stuff from point A to point B. Okay. Now, fast forward more than 100 years. Well, top of the line technology would be a Tesla Model X. Okay. It has four wheels. It takes people and stuff from place to place. But that's about the only things that are in common because the technology has evolved. So going back and helping people understand this, this is a classification of what we call power optimization and correction. Okay. And it's about cleaning, stabilizing, and making sure that you have the most efficient electricity. Okay. Now, back, I think it was almost 20 years ago, there was a group who introduced a technology that was called KVAR, KVAR. And you can Google that. Just Google KVAR, and you're going to come up with lots of yucky references because they came into the marketplace and they only addressed one aspect of the technology, power factor. They made ridiculous claims. I mean, we're talking about in residential claims of like 50% electricity savings. Well, it was an out and out, I'll be careful what I say, but it was a lie because in
Hmm.
residential, we don't get billed for power factor. We
Yeah.
aren't correcting things to get from like say a zero point 0.6 to a almost zero point 0.1 in power factor. So it was a complete, and it is a lie. And there were people that are correct when they point out in these social media posts and stuff that it doesn't work. Well, they're talking about the Model T. We're talking
Yeah.
about the Tesla Model X. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw that out there because everybody knows what a car is. Well, let's take this basic understanding and show the people the difference between a Model T and what we have today.
Exactly. And that goes right into my first question, which is, okay, what exactly is harmonic distortion? How does it differ from KVAR and other power correction or efficiency products that have existed in the past? So how are we different? And
Okay.
what is harmonic distortion?
So what's different about this? And I'll give you some real basic things to understand. Everybody understands the concept of an oil filter. Okay. When you, if you don't know anything about electricity or anything, everybody understands an oil filter. It's attached to your engine, and as the oil goes through it, it cleans it. And when clean oil means that things run more efficiently, things last longer. Well, that's what an optimizer is. It is a oil filter for your electricity. Now, what's different of what we have today compared to that Model T type version is that we address harmonic distortion. Okay. And in the commercial side, we address power factor and we also address in both of those line loss. Okay. Because when electricity travels, it gets dirty essentially. So, real basic without becoming an electrical engineer explaining, electricity travels in waves. Okay. And as it travels, it starts to fragment or like spikes or what you could call, well, it's distortion. So I
Yeah.
can't use a word to define a word, but you get little spikes. It's fragmentation of the electricity. That's
Yeah.
harmonic distortion. And sometimes when you're doing research, you're going to see the term total harmonic distortion. So
Mhm.
what it means is on your electrical grid, things are kicking off distortion. So your motors from your refrigerators, your freezers, pools, heat pumps, air conditioning units, and even your LED lighting will be kicking off harmonic distortion. And what that means is that all these devices are kicking dirt into your clean electricity. And that
Yeah.
means nothing's going to run efficiently like that explanation of a oil filter. You're getting all this dirty stuff, and so things aren't running efficiently. So the important difference of what we do today compared to the Model T version, the KVAR, is we not only address power factor in commercial, but we do the total harmonic distortion.
And line loss for commercial, correct? Line
What's
loss
that?
And line loss for
And
people.
line loss, yes. Line loss has to do with the distance that electricity travels
Okay.
from our utility companies. But yes, we do address those.
Okay. Okay, so why would someone use this product if utilities don't charge demand or power factor penalties to residential solar? AKA, what value does the optimizer provide in residential specifically?
Okay, yeah. So as I mentioned, the Model T version, it only did power factor. We're not charged for that. So when
Hmm.
they ran around and made these claims that like 50% reduction,
Ugh,
if you look at power factor's impact on residential, it's maybe 1 or 2, 3%. We don't get charged for it. And all that's really doing is cleaning up line loss. Okay. So that's where it went wrong is that people who deployed that technology before and got in trouble were making claims that power factor worked on residential. It doesn't. Okay. The big difference is our technology is complete that it addresses the harmonic distortion. So in residential, it works perfect. Okay. You can install one of these right next to your electrical panel or in front of an AC unit in your electrical panel, and it's just going to work to clean up that electricity. Now, that's the reason why it works in both residential and commercial is because we're attacking the spikes in the electricity, the dirty electricity, the harmonic distortion.
okay. Which is why it affected my bill so much by
Right,
47.
right.
It was really impressive to get my bill. And I love my bills now, staying in the hundreds, which is amazing. If daily energy use okay, this is perfect. This is a perfect lead in. If daily energy use naturally fluctuates, how can we trust savings data? How do we account for variables that could make energy saving claims seem more flawed or inconsistent?
Okay. That's a great question. I'm glad somebody brought that up. Okay. So let's talk about energy consumption and data. Okay. One of the great things about the technology is it can be proven on the savings in two ways. Okay. The first one is just using amp clamps. So what you witnessed when it was installed at your home or
Mhm.
in any place is that an electrician can see what the amp draw is. So if you had everything in your house running, he could say, oh, this is how many amps we're running. Then with the optimizer on, he can do the same reading and he can see the amp drop. So
Yeah.
we can prove it with an amp clamp. And that's really basic. You know, every electrician has one of those in his truck, van, or his toolkit, back pocket. Amp clamps are straightforward. The second tool we have to our disposal is a software called What's True. Used to be Solar Facts, but it's What's True. Now, What's True collects the information from our utility company and then analyzes it against the weather data with AI. So
Mm.
essentially, if we install an optimizer and 48 hours later take with What's True running, take another grid read, essentially our count read, you can see the impact. Okay, so I'll give you an example of that. A hotel that we did some work with, Hampton Inn, one of those other big brands. Um, we installed the technology 48 hours later. We were able to see the differences. And at that hotel, over the first week, just in usage, on a low end, it was like 24.5%. On a high end, it was 36.2%. So the wonderful thing it is that we didn't have to go back out and with an amp clamp and show that. We could literally do that with reading the data from what's true. And
Yeah.
you know, it's a simple thing. You can't argue with the data. So it's
Yeah.
provable. And that's what I love about it now is that we can tell people the performance, but we can prove it to them because we have the data.
Yeah. And how good does that feel to the client that now money they were already planning on spending, they can now invest back into their business? And I want to point out, it's winter right now. In California, they're going to be running all their AC units. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there was like more than a dozen AC units, like a lot, right? Wasn't there more?
Yeah, when they get into the summertime months, it's going to be incredible because we're seeing that kind of savings now when they're not running the air conditioning.
Yeah.
So the air conditioning is going to make a big difference because that's when you're going to see large inductive loads. That's when you're going to see those AC units on the roof pulling lots and lots of power as it stops and starts with the air warming and cooling.
Yes, yes, okay. All right, so let's go into how does cleaning up power impact older or inefficient equipment like AC units? Is there a risk that improving power quality could cause aging systems to fail?
No. And so I'm going to use the analogy that I talked to some people about. It's like a senior citizen versus a 15-year-old. Okay. So if you have new equipment, stuff that was just bought in the last couple of years, most electrical motors are designed with a life expectancy between 10 and 15 years. Okay. So in year one and two and three, those things are like a 15-year-old. They're, running, running, running. But as that motor starts to age, it's been hot a lot because of the dirty electricity. It gets hot, it gets worn out. I mean, I sort of relate to that. I'm getting to those older years. I can't run like I did when I was 15. But what happens with the optimizers by cleaning up the electricity, it makes those motors run more efficiency. And so it's actually going to be a benefit for
Okay.
older equipment. Okay, let me give you an example of this. When these were first deployed back in 2005 in the oil fields, so like companies like ConocoPhillips and others did these by the tens of thousands. The motors that were running the pumps, so the pumps that are pumping oil out of the ground, running 24/7. The life expectancy of those motors was 10 years. Well,
Mhm.
because the power was so dirty and it wasn't getting clean power, those motors were getting hot because it was struggling through the dirty. The motors at the oil fields were burning out in 3 to 4 years. So it was cutting the life expectancy of those motors by 3 times.
Yeah.
So by putting an optimizer in, all your older equipment will actually run more efficiently, and in most cases, it will extend the life expectancy. Because if it kept having to fight through dirty power, it's going to get hot. It's going to wear out. Okay, so that's what it does. In fact, it in most cases, well, all cases, when you put an optimizer in with older equipment, it's going to do nothing more than help.
Yeah, okay. It's like feeding a elderly junk food versus
That's right.
a
Yes,
diet.
that's right.
We're going on the elderly metaphor.
That's right, the elderly metaphor. But you're exactly right because we find that all the time. I've got aged equipment, and one of the things that's nice about the approach when we do install these with commercial, we have to do an entire inventory of
Mhm.
all the motors and all the devices. So when we provide that to the customer, they get excited because now they can look at saying, "Oh, I might want to plan on replacing some of these based on the age of those units."
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is great. So, okay, this is kind of a sub question to that. What safeguards or remedies are in place? Okay, that's for the HVAC units. And then do they require an electrician and an HVAC professional for an installation?
Let me make this loud and clear, whether it's residential or commercial. This is not a DIY technology. So it's not like you're going down to Home Depot and grabbing 2x4s and slapping them up. We need these to be installed by a licensed electrician that is working either as a master electrician or under the supervision of a master electrician because we are impacting power, cleanliness, and flow. You just need that. Okay. And so it's important to have it. Now, being an HVAC professional, it doesn't matter. Being a refrigeration specialist, it doesn't matter. What we're correcting is the harmonic distortions that are the big one contributors are off of those motors. So motors are motors, it spins, okay? Whether it spins giantly of pumping water at the water sewage plant or if it's running your refrigeration unit, their motors. And so essentially, we do need an electrician on your team to install these. But once an electrician understands these, they're like, this is easy. And it's almost funny. Um, Anytime we get an electrician who hasn't seen these and installs them, they immediately want to go start selling these because they understand the impact. So it's
That's
great.
what
We
happened with
don't
my
we don't have to sell an electrician these. As soon as they install these, they're like, "Woohoo! I want to go sell these."
The guy that installed mine, his boss went and ordered 10, and now they're on storage units all across Utah.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's great.
impressive. Okay, so let's move into how do we determine the correct number of optimizers and their placement, especially in a multi-unit or commercial installs? What's the logic behind those decisions?
Okay, great. So there's a couple things in the process of making a configuration for the system correct. The first thing, and our friends come from solar will understand this, we need copies of the bills for 12 months. Now, we need the entire bill because in commercial, it's not just in commercial, we need to look at the demand charges and the actual consumption. We've seen bills where sometimes the demand charges were larger than the actual consumption. So
Hmm.
demand charges are basically what the utility companies demand that the businesses do is providing a buffer of power. So when your equipment starts and stops, it's not pulling off the grid and it's not giving this yo-yo effect. So what
Hmm.
happens in business is you have to pay for that buffer. It's electricity you're not even using. You're paying for that buffer. So we need those 12 months and we need the entire bill. Then what we do is a quick site survey, and we want to go out there and we want to map and document all the motors and the AC units and control panels and sub panels. And that helps us to determine what number and where we're going to place the optimizers. And then we have a second level with testing equipment, what's called an answer box. In an answer box, we can go from device to determine what would be the proper configuration. So it's not something that's a guesswork. We're not just throwing boxes against the wall and hope it lands. It's actually a pretty accurate process to determine which of the devices are going to need it, the load. So one point I like to make at this point in time with our friends from solar or other energy technologies, when we're building solar systems, we want to know what that total kilowatt hour is. What is it for the month? What is it for the year? Well, we still want to know that, but more importantly, we want to know what's consuming the power. Okay? Because those
Exactly.
big inductive loads, that's where we want to place these things. So there is a
Mhm.
science to it. That's training that's available, and we make it happen. But it is an evaluation of the amount of power, the inductive load, and then distance.
Yep. So the further it has to travel and the bigger the inductive load. So for a convenience store, it would be the refrigerators. They open all the time, right?
Hmm.
And then maybe for a homeowner, it would be a pool pump in their main panel. Something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Let me give you an example. Over within the last week, I was involved in doing some site surveys for a restaurant chain. I think maybe some of you have heard of them, Subway, who is a customer. But for this particular franchisee owner, they had 10 stores. Not one of the stores was the same configuration. Now, they use the same type of equipment and from the same manufacturers, but what was different is the size of the stores, the distance from the meters. At
Yeah.
one of the locations we did, the meters were more than 500 feet away. Well, that
Yeah.
matters because that electricity has to travel further. And so, what was interesting as we go through those, there were standalone stores. There was a store inside a building that was built in 1890, so the infrastructure was completely different. There was a store that was stood up 2 years ago, so virtually brand new. So the point I'm making there is that even though you think a subway is a subway is a subway, no, they're all unique and they all have their different idiosyncrasies. They were all installed by different technicians. And so it literally is nice because we get to go out there and actually validate and understand what their needs are. And then if we do the next step to do the answer box testing, we can actually go and test and say, we need this model or that model for it. So it's not guesswork. It's really specific and straightforward how we do it. But we don't just guess at this. This is actual real configuration. And that's why we get the results that we get.
Yeah. Exactly. And return customers. And I will say, being boots on ground with you that day when we went and did those site surveys, I learned more and can speak clearer on what we're offering because I saw it firsthand on what we're looking for. So anyone who is in the field and has the opportunity to go just shadow a site survey, I highly recommend it. You will leave way smarter and you'll be able to speak clearer on what we're able to do for our clients. So now we have, this is great. Okay. The last question is there a, well, I think we actually already answered this. Is there a tool or a formal calculation used to determine optimizer placement and sizing? When was the technology developed is another one.
Okay. Yes, we do have the tools. We've talked about that.
Hmm.
Um, the technology was actually invented clear back in 2000. Okay. And it was deployed at the substation level with the electric companies. And in fact, if you look around the country, every utility company deploys this technology, these large capacitor banks, but they don't clean electricity any further than the substation. So what's taken place over the last 25 years, just like any technology, it gets better, faster, cheaper. I'm going to give you an example. In 2007, nobody knew what an iPhone was. All right. Not that long ago.
Yeah.
The big iPhone had 8 GB of storage on it. The little one was four. And the camera was a 2 megapixel camera. All right. So fast forward to now, the iPhone 17, 2 TB you can have in storage. So magnitudes more. And the camera is not only a 48 megapixel camera, there's two cameras and bidirectional. So the
Wow.
point of that is the technology's proven. We have more than 160,000 installations. So it's proven, and it's proven by big brands. It's McDonald's has over 3,300 of these installed. Subway about 3,100 installed. Dunkin' Donuts is getting close to a couple thousand. But we get big brands all the time. We're working with throughout our partner network, we and our good partner delivery partners at Flow State. We're working with Fortune 100 companies, and then we're working with single store operators. So, it's a fantastic array. And of course, it's available for anybody and residential. And so let me bleed into another point that I think is important for energy professionals to understand. This is a universal need across everybody using electricity. Okay. There are 138 million single family households, and that includes renters. And guess what? This can be installed for a renter because it can be moved from one location to the next. Okay. 138 million. And then you look at all the industry. If you take the other balance of it, my math's not as fast, but it's nearly 180 million opportunities to install these. So we've installed 160,000 of them. We've proven it. We've got name brands. So the market is basically unaddressed at all. It's not even a fraction of a percent yet. So if you're looking to add new solutions to your portfolio as an energy professional, this is a great place because just about everybody is a target.
Yeah, and for me, it opens up that entire net. I wasn't able to go back and talk to the credit fails or to, let's say, someone who runs out of roof space and they have a true-up bill, or they have three more kids, now they have a massive true-up bill. All these different people that I wasn't able to talk to before, now we can go back, help them with this technology, see a massive difference. We've done right by the customer. Now, when their HVAC goes out, or they need help with their roofing, we get to be that one-stop shop because I believe we do it right with helping them with their initial goal of an energy efficiency home or the
Well, and let me talk to our friends who might be in solar that are listening today if they are. When solar, we would have adders. Okay, well, I'm going to add on, I'm going to change a panel. I might put on some squirrel guards or have
Mm,
other adders, in your system as you're configuring it.
yeah.
Well, if it's done right, the solar is an adder for the optimizer because you're going to start by helping people reduce their consumption.
Mhm.
And that's a win. And so if I'm a solar person, I can sell these to lots of people because they're under $3,000. Most across the United States, it's $2,750 completely installed. And once somebody has that, you've got to win. And
Yeah.
now you essentially have a paid pipeline for your solar sales. Because if the customer has a optimizer install, guess who has the best chance of getting that solar business? You do. And then let's talk a couple things about, well, how would you launch this with your solar business? Well, it's straightforward. You mentioned a couple of them. Go sell to everybody that didn't buy. Go sell
Hmm.
to everybody that is a customer. Go
Yep.
sell to the credit fails. Go
Yep.
sell to the people, and this
Renter.
is, yeah, renters. Go sell to the solar orphans. Okay, so I'm going to give you a statistic. This is not our number, it's from the Department of Energy. 85% of the single family residential installations of solar still have a bill of electricity that they're buying, not just connection fees, electricity that they're buying, and some sort of solar payment. Well, the easiest way to walk down the street and sell a bunch of these, you don't need permit data or anything else. Walk down the street and knock on the doors where somebody has solar panels on their roof and ask them if they still have a bill. And in most cases, saving them 20% on their electrical consumption will wipe out that bill. So, I mean, it's easy. When I sit down with a solar professional, man, this is great. Do get these sold as a first step. Sell them to the solar denier people. Oh, I hate solar for some political reason. Doofus. No, everybody likes to save money, right? Sell it to them, sell it to renters, and then that whole list, we talked about it. So when you look at optimizers and solar, this is peanut butter and jelly. It really goes together that easily.
Yeah. Really exciting stuff. I will end with anyone we are building across the nation, even across the world. I know that we're even as far as, correct me if I'm wrong, like Abu Dhabi and like we're doing, when was our
Yeah.
international install? We're everywhere.
Yeah, the optimizers are now available in 45 countries.
Wow.
So,
So this opens up such a big world as we are in 2026 now. The residential, the ITC, that tax credit's gone. We don't get to talk in savings anymore. We have to talk in value. Of course, we still have it for commercial customers. It is something that's so simple, whether you are an EPC or a dealer and you want to add more to your bottom line, or you just want to like have more of a product offering. Optimizers are the perfect way to just put it right into what you're already doing with the clients you're already talking to. So we can share our information, obviously our numbers and our emails. We do these meetings all day long, every day, whether it's sales teams or the technicians that are naysayers. By the end of it, they're coming up with their own ideas. We do these all the time. So we're always open to hop on with anyone, help answer any questions, get all the correct information so we can help you serve more of your clients and then also make some really amazing money while doing so. Rex, feel free to wrap us up.
well, I want to share one thing. When I got into solar, it was exciting and it was new, and there was lots of great momentum in going and stuff. But as I get further and further down the road, I started to see this real thing happen called solar fatigue.
Mhm.
Because it gets hard because you're sorting through so many people to get a sale, and then people do their contract cancellations and all this. It's difficult, right? And so what I love about what we're doing now, it's universal. There's so many prospects, and it's fun. And it's really fun to be the fact that we can install these and prove it with standard electricity technology, amp clamps, and then also the software. So it's just a lot of fun. So if you got solar fatigue, come join us. If you work for an HVAC company and you're looking for another thing that in your lineup to help you sell more mini splits or electric water heaters or whatever, there's room at the table. And so we're looking for across the network professionals nationwide. We need to have coverage in every market larger than 50,000 residences. So that's about 500 markets across the United States. And so there's an enormous opportunity. What we've assembled through the team, working together, we have great sales professionals and we train you on those things. We have tons of videos to teach you how to sell, how to present, customer facing, case studies, stories. So we've got that all put together for you. We've got great training experts. And then we have the world's best implementation company, Flow State, that can deliver systems everywhere in the US and it's expanding around the globe. And so what's great is we bring this to a point together in our community where you can focus on the sales, get paid inside of 2 weeks most of the time, not waiting for months and months and months to get an M1 and then all those kinds of things. It is a very quick hit, and then you are establishing those customers for life. So I get excited about it because, yeah, I love solar. I mean, I put it on my house 4 years ago, love it, haven't had an electrical bill, but this takes it to a new level. So if you are interested, do reach out. Our contact information is below. If you have skeptical electrical engineers that think it's not, bring them to the table.
Bring them on.
Bring them on. We'll have those meetings. And once they understand what we're doing, the light bulbs go on. And so I like to joke, there's an old joke about man versus Mother Nature. And guess what? Mother Nature's undefeated. Okay, because man isn't beating Mother Nature. Well, we're not this arrogant, but we're undefeated when it comes to having your electricians or your electrical engineers come to us. And we invite you to bring them because it'll help your organization understand them better. But so far, we're undefeated. So please bring your electrical engineers, your master electricians, and we'll get you on a conference call. We'll get you through the training, and you'll be excited about the outcome.
I love it. Thank you so much, Rex, for all your time today.
Yeah, great. And thanks everybody who had the chance to watch this today. Your time is valuable, but I can tell you this, you'll have a great time and the income opportunities are enormous. And it's nice to have fun again.
Yeah, it is for sure. Thank you,
Thanks,
Rex.
everyone. Take care.